the Pediatric Lounge, a podcast taking you behind the door of the physician's lounge to get a deeper insight into just what docs are talking about today. From the clinically profound to the wonderfully routine and everything in between.
Good morning, George. It's Tuesday morning, and we're recording another phenomenal episode with an independent pediatrician near your neck of the woods.
Oh, yes, back in Long Island. So welcome back to the Pediatric Lounge. Today we're joined by Dr. Susan Gunn. This is a rarity in pediatric medicine. She's a long-standing independent pediatrician, founder of Northport Pediatrics, and now a rising medical tech innovator. For years, Dr. Gunduz has been thriving as a one-two doctor practice, personally overseeing every aspect of patient care. That experience in seeing children from infancy through school age and listening to parents and noticing patterns others might miss has led her to create Soundwise for kids. It's a developmental readiness program for children ages 3 to 9. She built it after watching too many families discover learning challenges far too late. With 1 in 5 children entering kindergarten already behind, her mission is to give pediatricians and parents a clearer, earlier way to identify developmental delays and support children before they struggle. Welcome, Dr. Gunduz, to the show. And our topic today is brains, bites, and balance sheets, making neurodevelopmental screens simple and profitable. Welcome, Dr. Gunduz.
Oh, thank you. I'm honored to be here with two innovators, Dr. Rogu and Dr. Bravo, who themselves, Dr. Rogo's very much interested in keeping that independent practice going, and he developed a group of pediatricians that we come together to help patients get better insurance rates and so forth so that we can work together as a team. And Dr. Bravo is innovator of diabetes and educating pediatricians everywhere about the great work that we can do to help kids with diabetes. So I'm honored to be here, really. It's a great pleasure to be with these two leaders. And my name is Susan Gunduz. I'm a pediatrician, and I have an independent practice of my own, which I started about 30 years ago, maybe a little more. And it's still going strong. I'm proud of it, and I'm proud and excited to see my patients. But I'm here today to speak about something that's dear to my heart, how to pick up developmental delay early and how to get pediatricians to get the intervention going so these kids get better quickly.
So we usually start the show with, why did you become a pediatrician? How did you get into medical tech? How did you become a medical tech entrepreneur? The journey.
How did I become a pediatrician?
How did you become a pediatrician?
Why?
Oh, I became a pediatrician. My brother was born with a serious heart defect and he needed surgery. And I was exposed to that early on, pediatricians trying to get him better. And it really struck me as what a great profession to help children thrive and grow and succeed. And why did I start this company? Is because I noticed a lot of kids or parents were coming to me worried that their children were falling behind in school. So I had to figure out why that was, especially after COVID, with the schools closing down.
When you're speaking to the parents and checking out these children for neurodevelopmental delays, dyslexia, and so forth, what are some of the developmental signs, or what do you hear from parents and patients? What are we looking for? What should we tell parents?
I think what we first should do is every pediatrician, which they do routinely, check for delays all throughout their years, especially early years. What we do in practice is we give out forms for them to fill out during their well visits, and these are validated screenings. And we score them, and if the parent indicates that there's a speech delay or so forth, we give them intervention or we talk to them. However, I found over the years, and I'm sure you have too, George and Herb, that sometimes parents, there are barriers. One is they may not understand the questions. Number two, they don't want to label their kids, so they don't say their child has speech delay. And thirdly, we get the information that they do have it, and early intervention, the barrier, it takes 3 to 6 months sometimes to get children to get services. So I developed an interactive program where after the physical, I have put a box of crayons and a piece of paper in front of the child. I have the mother watch, and I say, okay, draw me a circle or a stick figure. Tell me what color this is. And they get all excited. They're like, wow, we're going to draw today? I thought we were just going to get a shot. No, you're going to draw, you can have fun. And then while they're doing this, I ask questions. I evaluate their speech, their ability to understand speech, receptive, or their ability to answer a question, expressive. Then I check their ability to know their letters and letter sounds, rhyming, etc. And the mother sees firsthand the issues that are there. Are they holding the pencil correctly? Can they hop at 1 foot if they're 4 or 5? When they see the issues, I give the parents videos that they can work on at home or written worksheets, and they come back to me in 3 months. If it's severe, we go to a speech therapist or occupational therapist, etc.
I remember back when I first started, Susan, Dr. Reichman, the founder, he used to have everybody do these stick figures and all these things you're talking about. And then that kind of disappeared over time. We stopped doing that. So I guess it's something that was in a really old school wheelhouse already. We just forgot to do it.
We had more time then. Right now, pediatricians are rushed. They have to
Right.
move quickly, and it's very difficult. We spend a lot of time counseling on vaccines and other issues, and we really need to take the time. But unfortunately, this also takes time, this interactive assessment. So I taught the medical assistants how to do it. They do it, and they report to me, and then I go over the findings with the parent.
So how do you think this technology or we're using the different digital screening and different technologies to expedite things and to basically score until you have an abnormal case, refer out. Isn't this the job of like early intervention, not the pediatrician? It takes time.
What I'm hoping, on paper, it's difficult. Even if the medical assistant does it, it takes time. You're right, George. It takes time. So I'm hoping to get this on a computer platform. So, George, the way it works in the office, if they don't know something after 3 wrong answers, I don't say it's wrong, but I don't continue. I just stop. And I say, okay, this is what you need to work on. I go to the next task, and then I stop if they can't do it. We're not there to frustrate or label the child. We're there to find out what skills they need to do better with, okay? So if it's on a computer platform, I want it to work the same way. I don't want it to go more than 15 minutes. If they can't do something, it goes into teaching mode. Having a computer for more than 15 minutes, the child per day, I think you have to realize you can't be on it for too long. They have to do multi-sensory learning, drawing, playing, dropping things on the floor. What sound does it make? Looking at colors, speaking to their parents, not on the computer all day.
But it sounds really doctor work. It's
Oh,
early
yeah.
work.
Yes, it is. Because we are the gatekeepers for getting children the help that they need so they can develop. I'm sure you've heard of Cognoa, Dennis Wall's company, and
Yeah.
how they diagnose autism very early, starting 18 months. And they're trying to get insurance coverage, which is difficult. That's a lifesaver. It should be in every pediatrician's pocket so that we can get these kids the services that they need. Parents don't want to hear that kids have autism, but if you have a third party doing this evaluation and giving that information, it really helps us. The same thing with what we're doing. If we can get a child to do a computer assessment at home, the score comes in to the pediatrician. Pediatrician could say, oh, you didn't score very well in holding the pencil correctly or drawing a stick figure or in your speech. Let's get the help that you need. We're not labeling you. We're trying to make you stronger and better.
So how do you, I mean, first of all, like there's already chat is out there, right? To
Yes.
push the surveys out, but not what you're describing. But second of all, how do you validate like this is going to be, you're going to set a standard. So do
Standard
you,
of care.
your routine, and then you have an ASQ3 to see, do they correlate, or how do you standardize it is, I think, what I'm asking.
I use the screens that you mentioned, the paper screens at every well visit. There's no question. I don't eliminate that.
Okay.
This is just an add-on I try to see because a lot of these parents, like I said, the barriers are not reading it correctly. They're rushed and they don't want to tell the truth. And so they may not admit that their child's speech is below. They think their child's speech is great and they're 3 years old and they only speak 10 words. I'm exaggerating maybe. So I thought an interactive assessment was key to see, hey, the parent can see right there, there's something not right.
Because the Cogna, autism, yeah, it's phenomenal. I was lucky enough to be allowed to test drive because the problem is insurance doesn't cover for it. Medicaid doesn't cover it in Virginia, but they have, we record, I think, 3 videos.
Yes.
And then they have a specialist look at the videos, and that's part of the assessment process. Is that sort of what you're thinking? Like you
No.
videotape the kid and have someone look at it asynchronously and give you a report back?
The way we're going to do it, first of all, if it's done at home before the pediatrician, if it goes that way, right now we do it in the office in front of the parent and the medical assistant or pediatrician. My hope is to have it done at home with the parent present, and this way it can be scored and the results will be sent to the pediatrician. The pediatrician can either talk about it during the well visit or schedule another visit to talk about how the child did. And therefore, it can give advice as to, hey, your pencil grip, you're not holding the pencil correctly. We need to work on that. Can you do it on your own, the parent, or do we need occupational therapy? Or your child's not speaking full sentences. How do we handle this? Can you handle this with worksheets and videos that we can provide? Or do you want to go to speech therapy? This is my hope that we can do this in every pediatrician's office. And if a pediatrician doesn't want to do it, then maybe the parent can do it on their own and work with the information that I plan to give them to help them do better.
But you know what I'm finding for today's parents? They're so busy doing stuff. We can barely get them to fill out the developmental questionnaires and the PH39s beforehand. And we make it simple. We send it them as a link. They fill it out online. It comes back in. If they fill it out, it's fantastic. If they don't fill it out, you got to do it in the office. That's just a form. You're talking about actually doing something. Where I believe what you're saying, because I still do old school in office practicum. They have the developmental screening questionnaires, questions. I go through each one of those more as an exercise for the students to learn the developmental milestones. And I get a feeling of how the kid is. And then I'll look at the mother's online questionnaire. And they better jive with what I feel. They better be right or wrong. But I'm a believer in using technology to help you, but not as the absolute end all. So if it's abnormal, that's it. Go somewhere, because people get confused. No?
Yeah, no, but it wouldn't be an end all. It's a discussion with the pediatrician. Discussion, a separate visit to talk about what was found.
Oh, at a separate visit you're talking.
Yeah, I think so. You could do it at the visit. There's some kids in my office that get through the assessment in 10 minutes. It's quick. They get 100 and they're fine. So we just tell the parent, no issues found. Let's move on. But those that do have issues, it takes time, George. It really does. So we say, let's come back. Now let's talk about the barriers to early intervention. It takes too long to get early intervention services in other states, not just New York State, everywhere. And see a developmental doctor takes too long. But what I've been doing is sending my patients to private speech and private if it's covered. And Fidelis Managed Care does cover OT, PT, not speech. So I try to do that. We're trying everything to get the kids the services that they need.
Herb, what are your thoughts on giving more screening during a well exam?
I think the person that knows most about this is Dr. Alex at University of Maryland. And part of the problem is that depending on your population, right? So if you're treating immigrants from Central America and Dumfries, these parents have a third grade education. They didn't go to school past third grade. You can hand them something to read in English and Spanish and paper and the computer, however you want. They just can't read.
Yeah.
So the average U.S. student in New York can't read at sixth grade level. So you take a New Yorker and you give them something to read, they just can't read. They're illiterate. They're functionally illiterate. So you're giving parents something to read, and they can't even read a newspaper because newspapers are written at sixth grade level so that people can read them. That's how functionally illiterate our society is. So it's a problem. But I'm stuck on this idea, which I think is fabulous, is engagement. So you want to engage the parents in a verbal and visual way where you overcome the illiteracy and where they find it fun and they're open to share what's going on with their kid. That's the first thing, right? And that's user design. The second thought is, once you have the data, how is a computer going to manipulate those zeros and ones to give you a result that is useful for the pediatrician to intervene? And the third problem is that we have so many screenings that both the parents and the pediatricians have screening fatigue. It's just, they're useful, but Gene Marconi now is advocating for screening every adolescent at their yearly for the suicidal test, the 5 questions from the it's actually ASQ suicide. It's not the ASQ development. And that takes time to implement because somebody has to ask those questions. And some parents get angry. They don't want those questions asked for their kids because they see it as judgmental. And someone's going to be misdiagnosed as the kid goofs us off and says, yes, I was thinking about hurting myself. And now this machine gets started. And it's a joke. They think it's a joke. The teenagers think it's a joke. And you can't unsee it. But I think there definitely is fatigue on the parent side and the pediatricians of the number of screenings that we're doing.
This is not a screening that's done on paper. This is interactive. You put a set of crayons in front of the kid and the parent, and they never complain. They get all excited. You ask them to hop on each foot, jump high. I've never had an issue in my office, and I'm going to say that it's been very positively, they just love it. They ask for it at every checkup. You know what you did last year? Can you do it again? I want to make sure that we followed what you said. And I think
But how are you going to do that at home? That's where I'm trying to visualize what you just said. You're trying to move it. Right now, you're in the non-digital space. You're doing it in your office. And yes, I can see how people would be engaged because you're engaging them. But your dream is to move it, automate it, and make it digital so parents can complete it at home if they want to. How are you going to do that?
That's going to be my R&D, my research and development project. I have to study it. I have to work on it. It's something that you hope to do. It doesn't mean that it will happen, but it's something you hope to do to make it scalable, to reach rural communities, to reach kids that can't come to the office. That's my hope. And we're to make it animated and fun and engage the parents. And if they can't get early intervention, give services online. Or it's not something that I feel it can be done, but that's my R&D. We'll figure it out.
No, I think it's a phenomenal idea. I really like the idea.
I think she's using the doctor part of her brain to do something on the computer as opposed to just a computer guy thinking it's a cool idea. Because I think I've seen some of this stuff where the kid is supposed to hold a pencil or a crayon, and the camera is supposed to measure some things if you're holding it properly or not, or something like that. I mean, it sounds good. Besides time, okay, let's say we have all the time in the world, 1 hour per patient. Cost. It's always a cost. What doctor are you going to get to work to do all this stuff and not generate income? What happens when you spend way too much time on patient care, even though it's good?
I've been doing this for 3 years, and I never gave it to a pediatrician until I was sure that it works. It pays very well. Medicaid pays for it. So if you only spend 10, 15, 20 minutes and the medical assistant only spends that much time, then no, I'm not going to. Depends if they come in for a separate visit, we bill for it. But during a well visit, if it takes a good amount of time, we bill for it and they pay very well. But even if you get paid a lot of money, doctors or pediatricians, some of them don't want to do it. They say it's the teacher's thing. It's not ours. And I get that. But I look at this, educational programs just do speech and language. We're pediatricians. We know the importance of motor skills, fine and gross, together with speech and language. And we also know performing developmental activities, speech, language, and motor, simultaneously builds stronger brain connections and helps kids learn faster. So that's what I'm going at. And hopefully we'll be able to get in the computer platform. If we don't, at least I can give this to you, George and Herb, to use in your offices and try it out.
Yeah,
No, it's
definitely.
nice idea. I'm curious to say, before you ask her, I'm sure you've spoken to other physicians about this. What is their usual response? Because they don't like change, and they definitely don't want to do more stuff in the exam room because it takes too much time.
A lot of physicians want to do it and they ask me for it, but I'm ready to give it out now in paper. Some of them don't. It depends. If you have an interest in development, then you're going to say, wow, this is great. It's interactive. The parent can't tell me that my child is fine. Look at it. It's obvious right here. But some doctors say, I don't care if I get paid. I just don't want to do it. It's like mental health. Some doctors don't want to deal with sadness and anxiety and depression, and they want that to go to somebody else. It really depends on the doctor, but I think I'd like to get this for all the kids to be able to do. And maybe even early intervention centers can use this instead of having long wait times. And preschools can do it, and elementary schools.
Yeah, it's interesting. Just adding another step. Herb is big on the diabetes, type 1 diabetes screening, which really is not that big of a deal and a time suck. You just take a little blood, just like the lead testing. Should be from the finger. Send it to the lab and get a positive or negative result. And if it's negative, fantastic. And if it's positive, then you have a conversation. You do a telemedicine. That's how you can financially sustain this. The test should be, the time for doing a testing should be reimbursed to the physician or the staff. So that's Herb's dream, to get this in every in every doctor's office and screen every child for type 1 diabetes. But again, you got to deal with people like me. I don't want to do one more thing in the exam room because I'm already overloaded. You guys have a big lift on both ends.
Yeah, but I'm thinking with technology today, I don't know if this is possible, but it could be that you record a video and some AI model scores the video of the kid in the interactive way and gives you a rating, so that the pediatrician that doesn't have time or doesn't have an interest can still get a report and take action from that.
Yeah.
And this
I mean,
can be done by telemedicine, the screening. And sometimes we do it that way because the parents are working and the nanny has the kid do the assessment with the medical assistant on telemedicine.
well, telemedicine is a great means of medical care for a lot of different things. Again, even with telemedicine, you have physician resistance. I got to see the patient in person. I cannot do this through a computer screen. It takes too much time. They don't want to click and log in, and I'm waiting. I'll give you 50 reasons why it cannot be done. But that's just doctor, I think, I don't know, what am I looking for? Her behavior? Or
People don't like to change.
Yeah.
Doesn't matter who it is, they don't like change.
Yeah.
And there's nothing you can do about that.
Well, you try to push ahead. I'm the big pushy bully guy. I push all doctors to do different things, but I see telling doctors to do things. Sometimes it's really tricky. It's really tricky. Oftentimes I find I know the answer to the question, but I'm going to convince you, Herb, to get to my answer by yourself. By telling Herb to do something, shuts down immediately. He'll never do it. And that's doctor behavior.
That's a very good point, George, and you're absolutely right. There's no question about it. But I want to say one thing, just like Herb's really trying hard to explain diabetes and how to diagnose and treat. 1 in 5 kids, as you said in the beginning, enter kindergarten 2 to 3 years behind grade level in core language and literacy skills. Okay, right there, we know that kindergarten entry scores are its single strongest predictor of academic achievement. So, if we care about our nation and the progression of our nation, we want to make sure that we as pediatricians are the leaders to get kids ready for kindergarten so they can get ready for middle school and high school and become great students in anything that they want. The NAP scores show that 70% of fourth graders are below reading proficiency, and 40% of those are reading below their grade level. We can do better. We're the leaders. We're pediatricians. We have a lot of knowledge. We have a lot of skills. We're the experts in pediatric development. And we're out there to do our best to get our kids to be fully functional, not have these mental illness problems because that's their first job school. They're not doing well. They feel terrible. We are the leaders of pediatric development.
I love that statement, Susan. She's an old school physician. I love it. But everybody thinks word on the street, and some people believe all you guys do is you do runny noses and you give shots to go to school. That's
Well, we change our perception.
Isn't that sad?
It is. By the way, I got a catch grant from the American Academy of Pediatrics to give my assessments to English language learners in different languages. And I have a classroom in my office right now. I hired a teacher with the grant money, and we're testing to see how do we get kids that speak other languages in English to be ready for kindergarten. And we're doing great. They're already reading, and these are kids in kindergarten whose parents don't speak a word of English. So we're working hard on that. It's not easy. I have a special understanding of teachers now after watching this classroom every day. Not easy.
Yeah.
I think that you're absolutely right. And we speak about this a lot. One, the big health systems and private equity do not care about our children. They care about hip replacements, cancer therapy, ICU care, where they make oodles of money, but they don't care about our children. Second of all, we cannot have a functional democracy if we keep putting kids on Medicaid and we're paying $2,000. I'm not say paying. We're investing $2,000 a year in the health of children. We should be ashamed as a country that we only invest $2,000 a year in investment in children. And we cannot have a democracy. Democracy will end if we continue to be functionally illiterate. People who cannot read and cannot learn and cannot be gainfully employed become jihadists, revolutionaries. Doesn't matter what part of the world. You can see the experience of Latin America and the poverty, and the countries that have high literacy rate like Costa Rica are peaceful, ongoing democracies. The countries that have low literacy rates have terrorists and revolutions, because a young man who is illiterate, who is not employable, is someone that has nothing to lose by waging whatever war they want. So it is, if you like this country, if you love this country like I do, and you like democracy as a way of governing yourself, not investing in education, identifying people early who need help in education, and not investing in our children's health is the way to end this experiment.
Right.
And we should all loudly speak about this, because the private equity, the big health systems, they don't care.
Why?
These things
You know
they
why they don't invest? Why they don't invest in children? Because private equity, other organizations, big people see you, two doctors and myself. All you do is runny noses and give shots to go to school. That's your job. What's the big deal? Why should we pay you more? Why should we invest in children? How stupid and backwards thinking is that? There's more to my job than that.
It's not just that. It's just simple. All these people live by the earnings for this quarter.
Right.
They could care less what happens to this country 20 years from now. They look at their earnings. Did they make more money this quarter than they did? That's true for Northwell. It's true for Innova. It's true for, I don't know, whatever private equity owns
Mhm.
practices. All they care about is, did the earnings go up quarter to quarter? That's how the C-suite gives their jobs. And so they're not in the business of investing in anything. They're in the business of maximizing margins so that they can show growth quarter to quarter, and then they get their bonuses, and then they get their $20 million salaries. The incentives are just not aligned. That's just that simple. It's not that they don't think that we can do the work, or that we're not good people, or that we should not make more money. It's simply that's not important to them. That's not where the money's made.
No, just yesterday I saw 3 kids, really obese, that probably could have used some therapy, some GLP-1 treatment that's not covered for the children in Medicaid especially, that you could tell them, run around more. I told them you should do sports, you should drink less soda. They just laughed at me. He says, we can't do sports, we can't do this. That's your future. Those 3 kids will be really chronically ill in a couple of years.
Yeah.
Yeah. But
Yeah.
I could have stopped it at that moment. But I did my job. I told them, run around more, eat less, see what happens, move on.
Well,
It's
you
terrible.
you really do a good job, George, every day. And from all the posts that you put on LinkedIn, encouraging patients to exercise and eat well is so important. And people do read them. But
Yeah.
we got to get this out to the general public. So if we start screening at age 3 with an interactive screen, get them really good at school, loving school, not say, I want to not go to school. The absentee rate is so terrible right now. And get them to perform, raise their hand and say, I know that the letter B is a book. Great job. Even though if we don't teach the parents to tell the kids, I have medical professionals coming in who don't know that kids need to know their letter sounds. And they have a history of dyslexia, which is the inability to process the sounds and relate them to the symbol of the letter on the page. At the simple definition, it's much more than that. But we can make a difference by screening interactively age 3 and up, get them ready for preschool. Maybe the obesity wouldn't happen, George, because they would be happy in school. They'd want to go and run in recess. They'd want to go and raise their hand. But if you don't do well in school, guess what? You don't feel like you belong. And that's a big problem today. So we as pediatricians have to help the teachers. We got to align together. And we've got to do this work together because we care about our nation. We care about our country. And we have to make our kids literate.
Yeah. No, I agree
You're
with Doc.
100% right. It's a huge problem. It's no, I wouldn't say no one, but very few people are actually paying attention to that. And it's a huge problem. And anything that can be done to improve that is incredible work.
Yeah. I'm curious, what do the people in the white coat universities and organizations say about this when you talk to them at the AAP level or system level or something like that?
Okay.
Because you're not an academic, you're not a developmental specialist, you only have a million years in experience, which today doesn't matter, unfortunately. I'm sure you could walk into a room, look at a kid and say, you got a problem, without doing a million things.
The problem with academic medicine and the AP, although Dr. Susan Cressley has been very supportive of my efforts, but there's only so much she can do, of course. The AP is very interested. However, they keep saying to me, you have to write a journal article and you have to do this data and you have to do this study. And I said, that takes money. You go to a university, you got to spend at least 80,000 to do a study. And I'm not ready to give that up yet. It works on paper, but to do a study to get to get it, them to approve it, it costs money. So that's where the bottleneck is and the barrier to me. And so if I can get funding from somewhere to say, okay, let's do this R&D study. I'm applying for the SBIR grant. The government just opened. So I just heard from them that I can apply. I'm looking for the funding to do the validated study so the AP can say, okay, it's a go. That's what's happening, George.
What are your thoughts on that, Herb?
First of all, the problem is this doesn't have a big market. So most of innovation in the medical space happens from pharma because they can fund these studies for a drug they're going to sell, and that's how they make money. The government funds very little of this, and so you're not going to have that revenue stream because no pharmaceutical company is going to sponsor this study. And so you're competing for dollars at the NIH, and this is really important work, but somebody's doing research on breast cancer. And that's going to get the attention, and I understand it.
Of course.
I understand it. If your leg is falling off, you're going to call 911 and go to the emergency room. If you're gaining a couple of pounds every month, you're just not even going to go to the doctor. Why? Nothing's hurting. So that's a big problem. Unfortunately, the American Academy of Pediatrics is not an innovator, and they handpick their quote unquote experts who have groupthink. And so a lot of things that could be piloted don't get piloted. And if they were a truly functional organization, they would have grants like they're the one they're giving you for the teacher for innovation to happen outside academia. A lot of great ideas don't happen in academia. It happens on the street. Somebody, look, the iPhone, the smartphones did not come from university. They came from a lab in a company and a dream from Steve Jobs to change the world the way we use our phones. So we need to have an organization that spurs innovation. And we may be wrong. Your system may not work, but that's not a loss. It can then be tweaked to make it work, right? And that's how innovation happens. For people to innovate, you cannot be afraid of failing, and failing is part of how you change the world. But the AAP is not an organization that's capable of doing that. And the government has so many competing interests. But this is very interesting work that you're doing. I do hope you can get it digitized so that you can reach the masses. And there's two people, Dr. Alex at the University of Maryland. She's very interested in screening and how to engaging people with screening with AI. And the other person is Jessica Schleider, who's done the small scalable interventions for mental illness. And so I'll send you the links for both
I
of them.
appreciate that. Thank you.
But what Jessica's done is she's turned a series, that's probably maybe the model you want to use. She's uses a series of videos and then questions. And then to help kids who are anxious or depressed, and they do this for, I think it takes less than an hour to do this step, and they improve, their mental health improves because they have the same problem. There's not enough psychiatrists or psychologists to timely evaluate these kids and provide them with some therapy. So this is not for the severely depressed, but somebody who's mildly depressed. They can do this on their own and they feel better. But that's the model you're aiming for, being able to take it from one person to worldwide where anybody can access it and anybody can use it. And I think it's an incredible idea. It's a wonderful idea.
Yeah, most of these projects are run by private equity organizations and groups where they throw 10 things at 10 people and see which project succeeds and they make money off of that and they shut down the other 9. I think Susan is trying to come from the doctor point of view of doing good medicine and hoping that the money follows later. These guys follow the money and they never do good medicine. My standard line. We wish you a lot of luck on that.
Thank you.
I think it's doable. It's a great idea, and there's definitely a need.
The right people have to surround you and not just some sharks.
Yeah.
Yeah, that's always when you talk to the people that are out in Silicon Valley and they're trying to raise money for pediatric-based apps and stuff.
Hmm.
They say the investors are not interested. The market's too small, and they want to invest in things that can make more money. If you can have a product that you can sell to the whole world, and you can sell it for $1 you get a month, and you can get 100 million people to buy it, your revenue is $100 million a month. But if you're selling, there's about 3 million 3-year-olds in the US. If you're selling to every 3-year-old, that's only $3 million.
Yeah.
That doesn't cover a lot of costs of development, programming, and so forth.
Yeah.
But there's companies that, are altruistic. I don't know, Epic, for example, might have a foundation that would be interested in partnering and developing something like that.
Yeah.
Well, look
I
into
heard
Google.
you did recent tours of Silicon Valley with some companies. Tell us a little bit about that. What happens in Silicon Valley as a doctor, not as a computer geek?
I'll tell you, I've done a few things. I did the JP Morgan week, which is in January, which is quite amazing. They have all these events and parties to talk about their innovations. But again, it's all adult medicine, it's all medical technology used to treat adult medicine. But it's really exciting because they let you speak about your innovation, you talk about it, they give you comments, they give you advice on how to make it better. But a lot of these physicians are really uber smart guys. They get out there and they have clinical knowledge, but they also are computer scientists at the same time. They go on to further training or information technologists. And it's just so exciting to see the different things that they're doing. There's one mother who is developing a program of an ultrasound to diagnose congenital heart disease that's portable, that she wants to send throughout the whole world. It's called Bloom Standard. It's amazing. She gave a speech in Silicon Valley about how you can take that information if you're in a rural area in the United States or outside of the US and send the information to a university hospital, and they can tell you what you need to do to stabilize the child. That's amazing. But she's having trouble getting funding because it's a pediatric device. There are other companies that come out and they talk about their information. You guys have to get a chance to go out, get on Luma, which is an online event finder for physicians, to join these events. And they have them in New York City too. You should go. It's exciting. It's fun. And it gives you ideas. How can I make healthcare better? I also went to a recent meeting. It's called AI in Medicine by Anthony Chang out in Orange County. And he brings leaders to the table to talk about how we can learn AI to help our patients to do better, how to use it to help make a better and stronger diagnosis. And I learned so much. They have online AI programs that instead of going to a geneticist, because it's hard to get an appointment, you can take a picture of a patient who has whose facial anatomy indicates some type of genetic disorder, and it will tell you what they think it is. So at least you have a head start in what you need to do. So it's a lot of new things coming out in Silicon Valley. I recommend that you go to the New York programs because they come out and give talks here. It's fun. And so
Right.
that's
Yes. So, it's all cool things, Susan. I love it. I love things, technology, innovation.
it's
I
for
love
you, George. You should go.
I'm a clinician. I talk to people, I engage people. I'm good at computers and I lead physicians. But leading the physicians is the tricky part. As is
Yeah.
very tricky.
But George, just doing this podcast, you and Herb, You're innovators. You're
Yeah.
creating a voice for other pediatricians and other physicians. You're creating an opening. You're saying, let's disrupt things. Let's make things better. And we're here to do that. And so I think
Right.
what you're doing alone is what Silicon Valley is doing. You're leading that here on the East Coast.
Yeah, but I'm just a dumb doctor.
I
I'm not.
don't know. I don't think so.
Looking ahead, how do you see technology, neuroscience, personalized care coming together to transform how we detect neurodevelopmental stuff, or how the practice of the future would be?
I can tell you, Epic has a new program called Cosmos, and Cosmos is more than 10 years of millions of patient data. And what companies are doing, like NYU, for example, they take the data from Cosmos and based on they can make predictions for health. What they'll do is they'll say, okay, this patient at this weight, at this age, and this blood pressure in 5 years will develop this disease. And they're using that data to practice predictive medicine. And that's where the future is. But it's
Right.
all on adult medicine, of course. But
Mhm.
that's what's going on. And at NYU right now, when you sign in, you don't just give your name and your date of birth, you just show your hand like at Whole Foods and they sign you in. But they're using Cosmos, the data from it, to do predictive medicine right now at New York University in Manhattan. So that's where it's going. And we're going to have that for pediatric medicine too, for sure. And that's where we as physicians have to get on board and help them do this. And so
Right.
help the kids.
Very interesting. So I guess that's the practice of the future. I remember many years ago when I went to one of these P meetings and they had a exhibit over there. This is what the practice of the future looks like. Do you remember that one? I forget where it was. That practice, the pediatric office of the future. It had computers, it had a phone, it had, they're talking about access to care, chronic care, screening, mental health. This is the practice of today, 10 years ago described. So I guess what you're describing is the practice of the future in 10 years from now.
I think it's going to be faster than that, George, because they're really going nuts and doing these things.
Yeah,
But yeah, I agree.
you'll probably be retired. I'll be retired. Herb will be retired. And unless we lead the younger generation on how to do these things, they're coming into practice. If they come into practice and they think that their job is giving shots and taking care of runny noses, and
I,
we're more than that.
I think, George and Herb, you have intellectual property in your brains that's not on ChatGPT. You have so much knowledge that you can bring to something like Epic or other companies that you can teach them how to take history and information, HPIs, how to teach residents to look at patients. We have so much information that's not written in a textbook that's so useful. And we are not going to retire, George. You will not retire. Neither will you, Herb. You'll be teaching the next generation and how to make AI tools useful for the young people. Trust me.
So that's a very interesting conversation and I'm all over the place with this. When you talk about predictive medicine, I get a sinking feeling, right? So what if they take my blood pressure, my height, the color of my skin, this picture of my iris and my labs, and they decide that I'm going to be having a heart attack in 5 years? What does that do to my life? And what does it do to my life if they're wrong in their prediction? But so that there's a lot of questions to be answered. Second of all, I was reading an article about one of the fathers of artificial intelligence. And he thinks that large language models, and what we have now, are just a fad and is not going to go anywhere. He thinks that the next tier, which hasn't been touched, is when you can teach computers to learn like children, where they're seeing, they're hearing, and they're touching,
Right.
multisensory, that these
Oh,
large
that's right.
language models are just not going to be what people are promising, and that they just cannot be capable of doing what they're promising. The generative AI helps. I use a scribe. Half the time is wrong. And then I use open evidence, which I like a lot. But when I try to get it to summarize the newborn history from the hospital, it hallucinates a lot. I had a kid yesterday, new patient, and he was born at 10 pounds, 10 ounces. Mother's gestational diabetic. And it gave me a normal birth weight because it wants to make me happy. So it's going to give me a result it expects me to have. So I had to type in again, no, give me the actual birth weight of the patient and the diagnosis put by the doctor on the discharge summary. And then it did. So it helps me because I don't have to type that out into the chart. It just generates it and I can put it into the medical history and I'm done. It speeds up the process. But as you said, it has no wisdom and it really doesn't know what it's doing. It's just trying to predict what you want and put it onto a written narrative. And that's it. That's
Yeah,
it.
but you look at these things as tools, just like the good old stethoscope. It's just a tool. If it
Right.
was really smart, Herb, you'd be out of a job.
Yeah, it's never going to happen.
I know it's never
It's
going to happen,
never,
but
it's never
back
going
to
to
open
happen.
evidence that you're talking about. Open evidence is pretty cool.
It's
But for
awesome.
what you wanted to do with when you get the 50-page newborn discharge summary from Northwell that you're just looking for the hepatitis B date, you got to scan through 50 pages that you can't find. You can drop this PDF into Doximity. Everybody has a Doximity account. Drop it in there. And the most important thing is summarize this document. Give me the birth measurements in pounds and in metric, because it'll just give you metric. Parents want it in pounds. Give me all the pertinent medical diagnoses that you find and how the child progressed and what were the doctor's thoughts. So this is the code that you put into the search bar. Then it'll give you a summarization of the visit. Now with that visit, I've seen doctors in my office where they say, why do I have to type that? I just can copy it, cut and paste into the note. You are correct. The darn thing does have hallucinations and does make a mistake. And now it got into their note and it is a legal document that Dr. Bravo just put into his note. And you can't have that. So
No.
we print it out, I review it, and I do through my medical scribing technology, I recite what I think is important off that paper. And then that goes into my note and I put it into the pertinent pieces of the EHR. That's okay. So again, I use it as a tool, not as an end all, but in the quest to expedite things, to make things faster, to get out of the room faster, copy, cut, and paste, copy, cut, and paste hallucinations, and somebody's going to have a negative outcome. I want to be a medical expert on chart reviews for all these AI written notes, because I know which is an AI note and I know which is a human note. And I know why the errors happened.
All right. See, George, see how useful all this stuff is for you. You're not retiring anytime
Yeah,
soon.
no, I think that yes, they're tools. They mitigate some of the disaster that the EHRs are, which is they're an accounting tool to help the hospital make more money.
Yes.
They're not they're not meant to improve quality of care, and they're not meant to improve the patient experience or the physician's ability to care for their patients. They weren't designed to do that. So it mitigates some of that, but we're far from being able to seamlessly use it. Like what you just described is very inefficient. In the ideal world, there would be some sort of ChatGPT agent that would take all that information and put it into the right fields of the EHR so you don't have to do that. There's no you don't have to be an MD or a PhD to take infant of a diabetic mother and put it in the past medical history. That should be automated. It's on the text, it should be automated.
Yeah, but that's a lot. That's a big lift. That's a lot of technology, a lot of expense. I wanted to get my EHR company to simply import 3 pieces of information from our physician scheduler, the Amion, the name of the doctor, where they're working, and the hours that they work. The amount of technology and lifting and mapping and testing and beta testing and expense make it like impossible to overcome. And we're talking 3 pieces of simple information that have no HIPAA, that have no medical malpractice. You're talking about really heavy lift. Impossible to do today.
I don't think it's impossible, but yet it is expensive, and the architecture of the EHRs prevents that from happening.
Yeah.
That would be very helpful. Here's another example. You know how I hate documenting BMIs. I think
Yeah,
it's a waste of time. It's useless. Nobody uses for anything. But when you measure the kid, it calculates a BMI. It puts it on the chart on our curves. It's in the chart note. Why doesn't it automatically put it into my problem list with an ICD-10 code? And
it
then
does.
no, it doesn't. You have to put it in there. So if you have a normal BMI, until you on the assessment of the problem list, you go find the ICD-10 or those NOMED code for BMI between 5 and 85%, it doesn't happen. It's in the narrative, but it doesn't happen.
That's
That,
e-clinical because nobody cared enough to go find a workaround. Office Practicum, it automatically does it because I cared to figure it out and make a workaround for them. So all of our BMI gets reported all the time. So it goes into the problem list and it goes into the diagnosis codes.
who puts it in the problem list?
It goes into the problem list because you can click. Once it goes to the problem list, it goes into code.
Right. But when the medical assistant measures that kid and puts that weight and height and that gets calculated, it should be automatic that you get an ICD-10 code for that. Done. Nobody should have to look for the ICD-10 code to put it anywhere else.
And I'm telling you, it does that in office practice. And I think PCC does it too. Susan?
Yes.
So these are pediatric
Well, it's
specific.
it on your assessment?
Yes, I've been telling you that.
I also
these are
know that
pediatric
failed for you. I also know
PHI.
that failed for you.
No, it didn't fail for us because of the technology. It failed because,
Some
but it
people-
was okay. It got resolved at the end.
yeah. So something wasn't right. I don't know what wasn't. I know
Yeah.
there's a person component, but something wasn't right.
Yeah, but
all
again,
these little automations that are safe just
Mhm.
decrease the time you spend doing nonsense
correct.
and allow you to do things that are impactful. And then
Right.
you're a happier employee,
Correct.
a happier physician, and your patients like you more because you're actually taking care of them,
Yeah.
as opposed to just spinning the wheels like a gerbil in a big treadmill to make whoever wants that piece of data happy.
That's the difference between an independent practice and a big system practice. The big system practice has some computer guy that says, oh, you want to chart the BMI, Dr. Bravo? Sure. You click this button, you click this button, it goes to there, click another 5 more, and it's done. They don't care about the physician.
No.
In an independent practice like ours that uses a pediatric specific EHR like Office Practicum or PCC, you can call the medical director or somebody and say, hey, this is a stupid thing. How can we automate this and fix it? In my practice, we fixed it. PCC, they did it also because they care.
Yeah.
Clinical doesn't care about you, Herb.
Oh,
You're a small pediatric. You get shots in early noses. Who cares about you?
easy. Clinical is
Gotta-
cheap. That's
We
all
got
it
to
is.
change the perspective, Georgia Herb, that we do more than runny noses and
Oh, I
that
know that. Oh, of course we do.
vaccines
we
are
do.
very important, but we've got to change that perspective.
Yeah.
And if we make it a routine or part of our evidence-based practice to evaluate kids interactively for school preparedness for preschool and kindergarten, we're really helping our nation, our communities, our parents, especially. And
agree.
Yeah.
that's really the goal. No parent wants to suffer because their child can't read. It's just so difficult for them.
Absolutely.
Expensive.
All right. All right.
I love
so,
your idea.
yeah,
All right,
reach
thank you.
the top of the hour, Herb. Any final closing thoughts or Susan?
No, I
or-
love the idea. I love the idea. I hope you can translate it from
I hope
the,
so too. Susan.
from the one person to access to everybody.
Yeah. All
Thank-
right. Very
and
good.
Thank you very much for inviting me. And I want to thank you guys for being the voice, for being the person that tells everybody the best way to practice medicine. Thank you.
So
Thank
share
you.
our podcast with everybody. Thank you.
Be well. Thank you. All right. Bye-bye.
Thank you for listening. This has been a production of the Pediatric Lounge. On the show notes, you will find links to our co-host and other important notes, as well as a timetable of the topics discussed today. Don't forget to follow us on social media and subscribe to wherever you listen to your podcast. Leave us a great review as it helps us greatly. In the meantime, we will see you next week, the Pediatric Lounge. The conversations are not intended as medical advice, and the opinions expressed are solely those of the host and the guest.